Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is an Instagram live video I did discussing my trajectory as an emerging artist. It's probably one of my best talks ever. So like I usually recommend, listen while you paint. Hey guys, welcome back to another live video. My name is Beau Frank and I'm a 25-year-old painter based out of Pacific Grove here on the California coast. I'm back on Instagram. I'm back on Instagram Live. And today I really want to focus the attention on being an emerging artist, on what it's like to pursue a craft, pursue an interest, follow through with ideas and not just think about them, but actually do them. Um, I think everyone innately is a creative. Everyone has things inside them that they feel or experience. And some people, they experience it in a very specific way, in a very unique way. And the only way to express that or to talk about it or to connect with others is through their medium. And so everyone has a medium or some kind of way of communicating, whether it's language or music or acting or singing or creating a business or just straight up helping. I think finding that medium is kind of the magic of what life is all about. And when you find it and you find it at a young age, you're blessed because you're like, wow, I found this thing that I love, that I enjoy making, that I love doing. But just because you love it doesn't mean that you get paid for it, doesn't mean that people will respect it, doesn't mean that people will encourage it. It just means that now you have a relationship, you have some kind of dynamic with something that you care about. And now it's up to you to decide what you want to do with it. So is this something that you do every once in a while? Is this something that you do every day? Is this something that you do for a paycheck? Is this something you do to earn a living? Everyone has that choice, but you don't have that choice until you find out what that medium is. Sometimes you can have multiple mediums. You don't have to just do one thing. You can be multi-hyphenated. You can be several different types of things in one person. Specializing is great. Specializing allows you to develop a skill or a craft that other people simply don't have because they don't have the experience or the knowledge that you have in that said category. But if you diversify, if you try out new things, if you experiment, then you're more likely to find or fall upon that thing that says, yes, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I enjoy doing. For me, at least, finding art, I think I found it at a very young age, and I only found it because I was very shy, very quiet, very introspective. And so I had difficulties speaking. I would stutter. I had a speech impediment. I couldn't say my R's. I couldn't find the right words, but I could see things that other people just didn't see. I could notice little things, little nuances, details that other kids my age maybe didn't see. And so even though, two kids like me and someone else would be in the same room, our attention would be on completely different things, even though we are maybe raised in the same family like my brother and I. Or even in a classroom where, kids are like 6 years old and you're 6 years old and one kid is like, yeah, loud and, singing and one is running around and one's in the corner reading a book and one's writing and one's drawing. Well, everyone has something that they want to do. It just depends like, what kind of person are you? What naturally comes to you? And if it doesn't come naturally, what can you learn or develop to get to a place where you like your lifestyle, where you like waking up to your life, where you enjoy spending time with your own thoughts, and then also enjoy spending time with other people, collaborating and connecting and creating things together. Every job is a collaboration. It's a patron and a worker. It's a boss and an employee. It's a partnership. It's always an exchange. And so if you can find the kind of exchange that you like, that you enjoy, that really speaks to you and your practice, then you found the gold mine. You found like the mecca of your life. But it's difficult because sometimes you have an idea of who you are or you have an idea of what you want. And that idea is so far away from what you have right now. And so that disconnect feels almost impossible, if not overwhelming. And because you have these big dreams, you don't know where to start, or you feel like you don't have the right, or you've just never done it before. So how are you supposed to get there if you've never done it? That's where it comes into play. Just, starting with what you have, with what you got, with the information, the knowledge, the funds, the qualities, the things that make you, start with that. And then from there, you can start branching out. You can start asking for help. You can start looking for mentors, looking for people to guide you in the right direction, reading the right content, reading the right books, watching the right videos. These are all things that are online that are free and they're at your fingertips, and you don't have to go into debt for these things. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars to learn a new skill. You can learn it on the job. And if you learn it on the job, not only are you developing a skill, but you're getting paid to develop a skill. So say you take an internship or something, there's the paid internship, and then there's the internship that's unpaid, and then there's also the job of actually doing that thing. If you see yourself having that kind of vision where it's like, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet now, take the unpaid, knowing that we'll turn it into a paid, or it'll get me into a room where I'll be speaking to someone that I want to work with, that's okay to take that bullet. But if there isn't a vision, if there isn't a sense of direction and you're simply floating, then that's how you get lost. That's how you end up in a hole that you didn't think you would be in. That's when you find yourself chasing after someone else's dream and you're left with, the remainings. Climbing up a mountain is hard, but climbing up the wrong mountain is even harder. But once you're on that peak and you're like, I climbed this mountain and I did it. And then if it's your mountain, you'll start building a home on that mountain. If it's not yours, you have to start looking at other peaks to climb, which means that you have to kind of go back down and then kind of go back up again. So what I'm saying here is that having interests, having curiosities, having relationships with people that are in different organizations, different ways of thinking, different creative practices, people that maybe aren't like you or are thinking the same way as you, they have information and they have qualities about them that you can learn from. And if you can connect with those people, they can breach the gap and they can teach you those skills. And then if you're that kind of person that maybe I think you are, you can teach them the skills that you have. And now all of a sudden you're collaborating, you're talking to each other, you're growing together. The journey of being an emerging artist didn't start with art per se. It started with me looking at art and being like, I want to do that too. Like before I picked up a pencil, before I picked up a pen, before I did finger painting, I was looking at my environment and the world was my canvas. The world was my piece of art. And that was inspiring me, and it inspired me enough to take these colors and put them in such a way and in such an order and follow these lines to create something new. Creativity, taking your environment, wrapping it into your head, putting it through the filter of your own experiences, and then redirecting it and channeling it into a said new product. That's what creativity is all about. And that whole process is so fucking fun. Like, I absolutely love that. That's what makes it enjoyable when it's detail work. That's what makes it enjoyable when it's so many hours, or that's what makes it worth it when I'm in that ugly layer of the painting or when I'm hitting a wall. It's never easy, but it doesn't mean that it's not fun while it's hard. The whole journey of becoming an artist or a fine artist or a painter per se didn't start from the very beginning. It was like I was trying out all these different things. I've had all these different jobs. I'm trying to sustain myself and maintain myself, as a person living in this century and living in this time and in this era. And I've had to make a lot of choices to set myself up for success where I don't have to ever lose my sense of freedom, lose my sense of ownership, or lose my sense of me in someone else's dream or in someone else's life. What I mean by that is sometimes we have to get a job. We have to pick up something that we don't maybe necessarily want or like, but we do it knowing that this will give us the money, which will then give us the freedom, which will then give us the opportunity to then invest that money into the products to use or the trips that we want to go to, or take care of your health, get that lunch that you want, get that coffee that you want. Having a job is super important. Having a job allows you the freedom to live your life as a non-slave. But sometimes what happens is that you work hard and it's great. You work hard and you slave for your boss and you pick up those shifts and you learn those skills and you move up the ladder and you're working super hard, but you're working super hard for someone else. And no matter how hard you work, you never really feel like you're feeling that part of you that feels connected, that feels alive, that feels like they're breathing. And if you do that for a really long period of time, that can be very painful and it can be very scarring. So what I suggest or what I recommend, or from my own personal experience, is that I asked myself a question somewhere along the way that made a shift. I kept working my ass off at my job. I kept showing up and doing my best, but I also decided to do something different. What that is I decided to show up not just for my job, but also for myself. I thought if I work my ass off for this person and I'm getting them results and I'm, making the clients happy and I'm making the sales that they need and I'm doing those things and doing it really well for this company, what would happen if I took that kind of consistency, that kind of energy, that kind of heart and soul and love and attention? And what if I directed that into my own passions, into my own life, into my own creativity? Like, what kind of things would I see? What kind of opportunities would show up? What kind of dreams would come true? And so all of a sudden, all these ideas that were just little notebooks, little notes in my notebook, became things that I could slowly work and build toward while also sustaining a job, while also clocking in and clocking out. And while I was clocking and clocking out, I'm still learning qualities on the job that now can also help me on my own personal practice in my own personal business. So going back to what I was talking about before, I grew up very quiet, very shy, very introverted. I had tons of anxieties. I would walk into a room and just feel so small, and I could feel my heartbeat out of my chest. I could feel the sweat, going down my back, like literally just on the side. I could see like the sweat marks developing. I could feel my throat just kind of clenching. And if someone were to ask me like, hey, what's your name? I'd be like, let me clear my throat first. There was no confidence. There was no trust in myself. There was a distrust, and it was a really strong one. And it was potent enough that I lived with chronic anxiety, chronic fear of others. And so because of that, I isolated myself. I pushed away other people. I lost the opportunity to have connections with people that are maybe more like-minded than I might have thought of in the beginning. But gradually, I grew out of my shell thanks to getting jobs, thanks to putting myself out there in positions that are maybe sometimes uncomfortable. Getting a job at a froyo shop where I'm literally just saying like, hi, welcome. Would you like to try some froyo? Like, hey, do you want to try a sample? Like, oh yeah, where are you from? How are you doing? Like little basic skills like saying, hey, how are you? But saying it with such a way or such a confidence that they actually feel welcome, that they feel like they're being taken care of, that they feel like they're being seen and heard. That's the quality of hospitality. That's the quality of, bringing someone into your space and saying, hey, this is what I have to offer. And let me give you a tour. Let me show you around. Let me make you feel like you're a part of this family. That's a quality that you don't get naturally. That's a quality that you develop, that you grow, that you practice. And for someone who's painfully shy, who can't even speak up, who doesn't know how to have, who doesn't even think they have a voice, the person who just kind of sinks into their chair when they know that there's a presentation, the kind of person that when they get called upon to read out loud has a panic attack. That was me. And you put that person and the person that I am now, and even though they are the same person, a lot of things had to happen first to get me to this position. The fact that I can talk about these subjects in such a way where it flows and it feels natural and it feels good and it feels right is because I've thought about these things. These are things that I think about all the time. This is just my brain. This is the things that I'm passionate about. I love creativity. I love seeing people working on things that really make them feel good about themselves, things that make the world a better place, that make the world a little bit more beautiful. The details, the fine things, the little things that end up adding up to making something really cool. The more people spend time with themselves, the more they get to know themselves, what their needs are, what their boundaries are, what their limitations are, and which limitations maybe aren't limitations at all, but actually your greatest strengths. Working within what you have already and being able to find something to push it into, that's one of the greatest joys in life. That's what makes you smile. That's what makes you laugh. And when you're smiling and you're laughing, you're good. Like you're good. You're solid. Like you're doing things, and you're not just wanting to live. You're not, thinking about the future, or you're not, reminiscing about the past. You're actually living in the present moment because that intensity, that discipline, that patience, that ability to remain confident and trust yourself and belong to yourself allows you to step through each interaction and every experience being you every step of the way. So the more you step away from trying to follow someone else's path, the more you try to be something that you're not, the more that you start, compromising your own integrity for someone else's benefit, you lose a part of yourself in that practice. And it's a very heart-wrenching experience. And you won't really know it until you're in it, and you don't really understand it until you're spot in the middle of that and you realize like, holy crap, I thought I was this and actually I'm not, or I thought that this was my path and I've been told from such a young age that this is what must be done or who I must be, but it's not. And so the second you start listening to yourself, the second you start actually hearing that voice inside you that says, stand up and, say something, or, ask that question, or has that idea. If you're in a meeting and people are talking around you and you're not sharing your opinions, you're giving up your right to express. You're giving up your chance to make change. And if you have an idea that's valid, if you have an idea that could benefit, or even just an idea that can start the conversation, that can push the conversation in a direction that's much more engaging, that's much more interesting, that's much more helpful and of service than, say, complaining, or say, being passive and just being like, whatever, it's no big deal, or just saying like, my opinion doesn't matter. It's like everybody's opinion matters, but the only one that really matters to you is your own. So, you can take on other people's beliefs, you can take on other people's way of thinking, other people's practices, but you really just need to develop your own. You need to figure out what works for you with your schedule, with your responsibilities, with your expectations, with your, dreams and goals. Like, some people don't want millions of dollars, and like, that's cool. And some people don't want to be married, and some people don't want to have kids, and some people don't want a job. Some people want to be self-employed. Some people want to have someone tell them what to do. Everybody has different needs, different wants. And so you need to figure that out first, or at least practice trying to figure that out. I went through so many different avenues to get to a place where I found painting, where I found oil painting specifically. And not just oil painting, but like the subject matter, like the choice of how I push push the paint on the canvas, the choice of, how many layers of paint I add on, if it's thick, if it's thin, if it's shiny, if it's opaque, if it's transparent, whatever, like the subject matter, the people, the faces, the emotion behind it. Like, I had to go through all these experiences that someone wouldn't really call artistic or really call creative, but experiences that were necessary for me to live, to then reflect on those things, put words and feelings to those things, ideas to those things, and then capture it simply in what you see on my Instagram, which are paintings. That I'm painting my life. Like, the difference between my art and me is very, when you look at my art and you look at me, it's basically looking at the same thing or the same person. At least that's how I see it. When you read the comments, when you read the caption, when you see the pictures, when you watch the videos, like, everything that you see there, I put it there. I did. No one told me to put that there. No one said I should put that there. That's just me. I woke up one day and said, today I'm going to paint this piece in particular. And what happens is, when you start focusing your attention on things that you love, you get more done. You have more fun. You want to experience more. And so you get addicted to that. You're like, ooh, this is good. This feels nice. Like, ooh, I wonder what would happen if I shifted, if I tilted, if I tried something just a little bit different. I wonder what would happen if I actually tried to put my work out there. I wonder what would happen if I started to share that with others, and maybe share it on a platform like Instagram or YouTube or my personal website or a blog or whatever. I wonder what would happen if I tried to sell this. Like, what if I tried to turn this into a business? Like, is this even possible? I don't know. These are all ideas. These are all thoughts that I had at one point. And to have left them be just thoughts and not actions would have been so detrimental to my career. It would have been so painful, because a lot of those goals, a lot of those dreams would have just died inside of me. So why do that? Why keep going in a direction if it's not working? So what I do is I try something out and I say, hey, let's give this a shot, but let's give it a real shot. Let's really experience this practice fully before I really start making a judgment call on whether this is for me or not. Because in the beginning, it's awkward. You have that awkward stage. You're like growing into your own skin. You're trying to figure yourself out. So if you say like, oh, this isn't for me, and you only tried once, how is that possible? Like, you barely got to know this thing. So why not make little steps, open up your schedule in such a way where you can try these things, but try them and really try them. A lot of people have so many skills, so many talents, so much potential, and yet they choose to stop themselves before they even start. It's not even that they can't do it, it's that they feel that they don't have the right or don't have the ability to do it. So it's all about just kind of like, encouraging, just kind of like pushing them in the right direction. So if there's someone in your life that's like that, be that positive person, be that encouragement, be that inspiration, be that person that says like, hey, look, I know you're scared and I know this is a difficult time, but I'm going to walk you through it, or I'm going to encourage you every step of the way. For the artist to be recognized as an artist is like such a weird feeling, because you're like, how can you say I'm an artist? Like I barely know myself. I barely know what I'm doing. How can I put a title to something that I'm still discovering, right? You feel like you have to earn that title, that name, that right. And so that sometimes is enough to stop you. You're like, no, you don't believe it. You're like, it's impossible. I'm not a painter. I'm not an artist. I don't do those things. I don't get paid to do that. So I'm obviously not in whatever. It's like, no, if you're doing it, you are it. Whether there's a paycheck or not, that's irrelevant. That's just the system of how this world works right now. You do things and you exchange funds, and that's the system of government. That's the system of economy. That's the system of relationships based on monetary value. That doesn't mean that is actually correlated or even is relevant to the kind of value that you get from the experience of doing it or getting it or giving it. That is something that's internal. You can't put a number to something that's emotional, that's heartfelt, that's meaningful. You can't quantify love. You can't quantify creativity, but you can quantify how much money you have in your bank account, or how much debt you have, or how many loans you have, or how much your rent costs. Like you can quantify that pretty easily. So to be able to live in this world, you have to figure out a way to support yourself. So if you're an artist in the beginning, if you're kind of in my position, maybe you're not, maybe you are, who knows? A lot of the audience that follows me here is primarily artists or creatives. And so I kind of talk about subjects that maybe that kind of audience really likes. But this is really relevant to just about any type of interest or pursuit. When you start out and you get out of high school, or you're in high school, or you're a kid, or you're young, or whatever, you're not expected to know, and you're not expected to be wealthy, and you're not expected to be able to have power or make decisions, because you're not in those positions. You haven't earned your way up there. You haven't done the time or the experience to get to those places. So what do? You're like, I don't have a voice. Everyone's ignoring me. I don't have any money to my name. I can barely afford anything. And, I don't even have an interest or a passion. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know, what to do. And so people say, hey, first thing, if you're still in high school and you're like, go to college, go to college, go to college. Why? Why go to college if you don't know why you're going to college? Like, why go to your job if you don't know why you're going to your job? Why are you in a relationship with someone if you don't know why you're in the relationship? You have to understand why you're there in the first place before you start making decisions that are life-changing, that are life-altering. Ask questions to others, ask questions to people you care about, ask questions to yourself. Pick your brain. Like, so many people are looking externally for support, but really start asking yourself what you like, what makes you smile, what makes you laugh. And a really good feeling or sensation is when you get goosebumps. It's when you hear that word or hear that song, or you feel that thing, or you do that thing and you're like, I feel good. And you want more of that. Lean into it, go towards it, follow that river, let it flow, ride that wave, whatever the word or the context of it. Typically, where it goes isn't where you think it's going to go, but it's going to be a zigzag. It's going to be left, then it's going to be right, then it's going to be up, it's going to be down, you're going to be lost, then you're going to be found, you're going to think like, oh, I got all my shit on lockdown, I'm good. And then it goes sideways and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. Like, you're figuring it out. You're trying. As long as you're trying, as long as you're making steps to help others without being an asshole about it, you're doing good. You're doing good, kiddo. For me, at least, I hit rock bottom, I would say, in 2015. 2015 was the year that really punched me in the face and gave me a wake-up call. To give you a little background, some of you kind of know who I am, some of you don't. but I didn't go to college. And that was actually devastating. That broke my heart when it happened. I remember spending from kindergarten all the way up to my senior year of high school thinking I'm going to go to college. And I'm not going to go to any college. I'm going to go to the college of my choice. And so I applied to all these colleges. And the thing is that in high school, I experienced depression. I had a lot of things on my head. I had a job. I had, I was getting into trouble and whatever and doing things I maybe shouldn't be doing. And I was just kind of trying to figure it out, but I was very apathetic, not really thinking about the future, no consequences, no responsibilities really, and just thinking whatever, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just whatever. I didn't think about career. I didn't think about family. I didn't think about friends. I didn't think about long-term vision. I was just thinking about, what am I going to do today? What's on the agenda for today? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, that mentality, when I did my college applications, they could feel it. They could see it. And even though I graduated with honors, meaning I made a 4.0 GPA for all 4 years, the essay was shit. And when I took the SATs, my grades were crap. And so I'm showing an subpar SAT score, really good grades, but really no interest because my extracurriculars were pretty crap. I applied to the college of my dreams. I have 3 that I really want to go to, and I get into none of them. I get into my third or my last choice, my fourth choice. And I'm I'm going to spend how much money per year for my last choice? And maybe for someone else, that choice would have been someone's first choice. But for me, that was my last choice. So I was I'm not going to go to the school. I'm not going to spend $25,000 to go to a school that I don't like, to study something that I don't even know if I like or not. I was I'm going to study business because business applies to everything. But do I really know what those business classes are? Do I really know how many classes I have to take to be able to take an actual business class? Meaning the first 2 years of college being science and whatever, English and math and all these random classes that for me personally, I don't really care about. I ended up deferring, and what I did was I took a gap year, and my gap year was in Spain. And this was the first chance that I had that I was living abroad, living in a foreign country without my parents. I was living in a host family. I went back to high school, but in Spain. And that year on my own, without the influence of anybody else besides my environment, meaning no parents, I had a host mom, but she let me do whatever I wanted. I was able to really make choices for me. And what happened was I had one of the most selfish years ever. It was so fun. It was wild. It was a lot of drinking, maybe drugs, who knows, things that I shouldn't be doing, but I partied and I partied and I partied and I went to the beach and I'm having fun. I'm going here, going there, I'm drinking coffees. It's just, total insanity, and it's not sustainable. It's fun. It's really fun. I'm really glad I did it. I'm really glad I experienced the clubs and the bars and things that I just didn't have back home. And when I came back, from my year abroad, just being in party zone, fun zone all the time, to reality check, Beau, you're unemployed. Beau, you have no more money left. Now it's time to get a job. I got hit with the reality check. You have to work to make a living. And so I was I have no skills. I only have a little job experience in the yogurt shop. So then I was okay, well, how can I make money? And I thought, well, the only thing that I can think of right now is maybe serving tables. If you serve tables, you can make tips but I'm not even of age to drink technically. So maybe I should just get a busing job. So I started busing tables for a year. I literally would just clear dirty plates all day for an entire year. And what I did was I just work, save. And I still didn't have a passion, still didn't have a purpose, still didn't have a plan, just kind of maintaining a job, going through the routines, going through the repetitions. With the money that I saved, I was I love more than anything else travel. So I'm going to travel again. So that's what I did. I traveled again. I spent time in Italy, spent time in Spain, had another 8-month vacation, essentially, spent every single penny that I had, came back with $13 to my name. And I'm crap, I'm broke again. Back to ground one. Back to the beginning. And so I thought, this is a great lifestyle for me. I'm just going to work, make money, and then vacation, spend all my money, work, vacation, work, vacation, work, vacation. No long-term goal, really just a cycle. And I wasn't feeling great. I wasn't feeling like myself. I was feeling disconnected from my friends and I wasn't talking about it. I felt like I was hanging out with people and going out and talking, but I wasn't being heard and I wasn't being seen. And in a crowd, I would get lost in it and I would even see myself in it. So a lot of those relationships were kind of superficial. They're just what you see on the surface level and not within, the deep conversations, like what's really below the surface. So I ended up getting a job again, and now I'm getting two jobs, and they're both in the service industry. And I'm 21 now, so I can start serving tables. And during this entire time, I'm having a lot of chronic pain and health issues. And so the last 3 years prior to 2015, I had been suffering from inflammation in different parts of my body, and it was causing me to have pain. And I just kind of pushed it down. I was like, whatever, it's fine, no big deal. Like, I don't need to go to the doctor. That's a waste of money. Anyway, it got to the point where I just couldn't walk. And so I couldn't work and I couldn't walk. And my job said, okay, go to the doctors, rest. The doctors say, if you rest, you'll be fine. 2 months later, I'm not fine. I'm getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Now I'm 22 years old and I'm unemployed. I'm going into debt for medical bills. I have no passion. I have no purpose. I have no plan. I have no idea what I'm doing. Now what? Like, where do you go from here? Where do you start? And I was like, well, Beau, let's start asking questions about who you are really. Like, are you your body? Is this what defines you? Is it your physicality? Like, I hadn't been able to work out anymore, so I was getting like chunkier or chubbier because of it. I was losing muscle. I stopped doing my hair. I stopped dressing up. I was like, I'm in crutches all the time and I can't even go down steps properly. Why should I even try? And so I was getting into this place that was more of a darker space, and I took a little break from life and just kind of ate ice cream and watched Netflix for a solid month. And then one day I said, that's it. I'm done. I've had it. I'm done feeling sorry for myself. I'm done being this person. This person isn't doing me any good. I need to change, and I need to change now. So that day I was like, okay, well, Beau, let's start asking those questions that we have been asking, but we're not getting any answers. So let's get some more clarity. Clarity was key. It was like, it doesn't matter what happens with my health, whatever happens next is out of my control clearly because I'm not getting better. But what I can choose is how to spend my time and where to spend my time on what subjects or what things. So I thought, well, Beau, when you're little, you really like to draw. You really like to make things with your hands. Maybe you should do something artistic. And I was like, well, what jobs are artistic that don't need you to be mobile because you can't walk? I was like, graphic design work. So what did I do? I spent 2 months watching YouTube videos on graphic design, on Illustrator, on Photoshop, on articles, on how to create a logo, on how to create a brand identity, how to create a website, how to take a product and labels and posters and things like that. I even learned how to make my own font. I made my own font. I had a drawing tablet that I asked for my birthday, so my parents got me a drawing tablet. So now I'm doing a lot of digital art. I'm doing sketches, scanning it, putting on the computer, editing in Photoshop. And after 2 months of this, I was like, I freaking hate this. I hate this. I just spent 2 months on this thing. And after 2 months, I still hate it. Like, it's not making me come alive. It's not doing the thing that I thought it was going to do for me. It's not even providing an income. I'm just going into debt. My health is deteriorating and I'm doing graphic design work. And I was like, now what? Well, I was like, well, where are you right now? What have you done? What have you learned? What can you do with this situation that you have? And I was like, well, I've been experimenting with Photoshop and Illustrator. Okay. How do you feel? Well, I don't feel good. I feel like I'm in pain a lot. And I feel like I'm not really connecting with my art or my craft. What do you mean by that? Well, I feel like I'm missing the feeling of textile, my hands on paper. I'm missing the sensation of scribbling and erasing. Like, I'm missing the feeling of choosing the markers that I want and coloring in the lines. I'm missing the hands-on approach because digital felt like pixels. It felt like tweaking little lines instead of painting them or drawing them. So I was like, maybe I should try fine art. You're clearly interested in art. You've been following a lot of art blogs. You look at art on a daily basis. Maybe you should lean into that. Maybe you should ask yourself more questions on that topic. So I started looking at these websites that feature a lot of artists, and not just any kind of art, not like the old art, not the Renaissance, not the Mary and Jesus, not the traditional landscapes, not the traditional portraits of like generals or whatever. I was looking at street art. I was looking at pop art. I was looking at surrealism. I was looking at really cool, weird, bizarre, psychedelic art. And I was like, yeah, like that's awesome. Like I wish I could do that. Like I want to do that. Like I felt envious of those people. They're, all of a sudden there's a shift in our art culture right now where it's like street artists are being revered as talented artists, not street artists. Surrealism, which is this weird kind of like bizarre hippie shit, now all of a sudden it's fine art. It's gallery worthy. It's able to be on a white wall and claim a space in a place like a downtown area of Los Angeles or New York or San Francisco or wherever. And I was like, well, I'm not in those places. Like I'm in my bedroom with crutches and a bunch of questions and doubts. Like, what do I do with this? Well, I start with what I got. So what is your life? What is your experience right now? How do you feel? What's happening around you? And how can you capture that feeling and express it in the way that you do it? So I'm talking about me right now. So I was like, well, at this moment in time in 2015, I was feeling alienated. I was feeling, isolated. I was feeling beat down. I was feeling depressed. I was like, okay, well, maybe I should make art that's a little bit sad. How are you feeling? Well, I feel like I miss traveling. I miss those nights at the club. I miss my friends in Spain. I miss my friends in Italy. I miss being able to go to the gym and go here and go there, go swimming. I miss being physical and active and out there in the world. And instead I'm locked up in the studio. So I was like, what am I going to do about it? Well, why don't we try and capture that feeling, that sensation, and bottle it and package it in a way that's fine art and that also expresses how you feel in this moment. And that's when the Off the Grid collection was born. That's when the series of portraits in black and white, because my life felt devoid of color. And those colorful landscapes were just, marks for the places that I wanted to go to, the places that I loved, the places that meant so much to me. Those were little memories. Those were little dreams. Those were things that were constantly on my mind. So because they're on my mind, they're in this space right here. So I was like, well, they're taking up such a large space in my head. I'm constantly reminiscing. I'm constantly longing for something that I don't have, where in reality, I'm just here. So instead of being in the past, being in the future, I just decided to capture what was in the present, which was this feeling of longing for travel. I created one portrait and I used the techniques and the skills that I learned with graphic design, which was the thing that I actually kind of hated. I juxtaposed and collaged an image of a wave over the image of a face. And so I had this wave and it covered part of the face and it left the eye. And if you look in his eye, he has that disconnected look. He feels like he's in some far away place, because when you would look at me, I would want to be anywhere else but here. I created that painting and I stepped away and I said, how the did I make that? Like, what just happened? Something's happening here. I don't know what's happening. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm just going to keep going. So then I created another painting, and then I was like, okay, well, I like the idea of a portrait with a landscape. Let's do another one. Okay. What's another place in the world that you want to be in? The mountains, another mountain. Okay, what's another place that you want to be in? I missed this place in Australia. Great, another place in Australia. I miss living, I miss the road. I miss the open widescapes. Let's do a long road scene. And I started telling my story through my art, and I started creating more and more pieces, and I created a 16-piece collection. Now I have something, but I made this, like I created this. Like now it's all living in my studio and no one knows about it. So what did I start doing? I started to share that. I started to talk about it. I started to tell people that I paint. I started to show works in progresses. I started to post it online. I started to, when in conversations, say like, hey, yeah, like what'd you do today? Well, I painted this morning. Like, oh, what'd you paint? Oh, let me show you. Now I'm feeling confident because I'm doing the action. I'm not just, a painter, I'm painting. And so from creating that collection, creating a story that people could follow, people could relate to, people could understand, Now it's like, okay, you can now approach galleries, you can approach businesses, you can showcase your work, you can sell your work. And so I was like, okay, well, let's start doing that, but I need to make money. So what did I do? I ended up getting a job. Before I got the job, I finally got the doctors to figure out what was wrong with me, get me on the right medication, make the full recovery. And when I was pain free, I decided to go back into the restaurant industry, but I didn't choose any place. I chose a place specifically that I knew would inspire me, a place that had opportunity for me to grow, to learn skills that I know down the road would be really important and helpful. The ability to speak, the ability to say what's on your mind, to express yourself, to connect with others on a level that's much deeper and less superficial. How do I do that? Well, you get a job talking. You figure out some kind of job, whether it's receptionist, whether it's, conference calls, whether it's, any kind of face-to-face hospitality business, sales, whatever it is. I was like, I need to learn this skill and I want to be in a place where I'm speaking about things that I care about. So I chose Big Sur. I started out bussing tables and food running at night. I do double shifts and now I'm making money. Like, yes, I'm not living out my dream career, but I'm making money. Pay off my debts, get back into my health, get back in my routines, start going to the gym, start getting healthy. And now I don't take that for granted. When I have my health, it's good. And when I don't, it's just what you get. And so recognizing that you're not always going to be this young, recognizing that you're not always going to be this healthy, not always going to look this good, why not take full advantage of your freaking body and do something with it? Well, that's what I did. I worked out every day. I, would go to work and make my money. And then I would also paint in my free time. And so now I'm balancing these different things and trying to balance relationships and now side projects. And, the art wasn't making me money in the beginning because no one knew who I was. Nobody had any idea of what I could do or what I was about or what my story was. They didn't have anything to buy or purchase or support or follow. That was built over a long period of time. That was a lot of talking. That was a lot of speaking up. That was a lot of sharing my creativity. The first gallery that said, hey, Beau, we're going to take on your work. What? And a gallery space is going to showcase my paintings. They want to give me a chance, someone who's a nobody, who's never showcased before, the opportunity to put it in a place where there's other people's art that is maybe even better than yours. Like, whoa, that's crazy. That's a milestone. Even the no's, even the ones where they're like, you've got a kid, but just it's not a right fit. Or like, hey, I think maybe you should try coffee shops first. Like every little step in the direction of where you want to go is a step in the right direction. Like you're making it, you're doing it, you're getting there, you're getting better, you're improving, you're learning every step of the way. That's succeeding because success isn't a final product. It's the process. It's that journey. The milestone, getting into the gallery. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. The milestone, going from being a busser to a lunch server. Milestone, just doubled my income. Great. The milestone of going from lunch server to dinner server took 8 months. That's another milestone. Just tripled my income. Awesome from when I was as a busser. The first direct sale. What? Someone wants to buy the first piece, the piece that started all of this, the piece with the black and white face and the cigarette and the wave on his face. For $4,400, they want to pay me $4,400 for this thing that I made when I had no idea what I was doing. Oh my gosh, maybe I have something. Maybe there is value. When sometimes it's hard to recognize your own value, your own gifts, your own abilities, it takes an outside source to give you that recognition for you to feel supported or feel engaged. You need that person to hold you by the hand and walk you through it. When you find people like that, really show gratitude, really show that, wow, this person cares. They actually listen and maybe there is something. If that's the case, freaking lean into it. Keep going. Like if you're doing it, keep doing it better. Keep improving, keep learning, keep growing. The first time I got on this job that was in Big Sur, so I actually do a commute. I drive an hour to get to this job. I show up on the property. I'm talking to the managers. It's my first day. My manager introduced me to this woman and he says, hey, this is Beau. Beau, this is, Sarah. Sarah's a sommelier here, but she's actually leaving us. And I was like, and he's like, oh yeah, this is Beau. Beau's an artiste, like as a joke. It's like, oh yeah, Beau's an artiste. And the thing is like, I just created a 16-piece collection and I hadn't sold a single piece, but I was an artiste. Like I was a painter, right? And during pre-shift, when we're having our family meal together before service starts, People ask me questions about where I'm from, what I do, what I'm all about. They want to kind of figure me out so they can place me. And I say, oh, I like to paint. That's what I do. I haven't been working because of some health issues, but I'm better now and I'm really excited to be here. And so it's like, oh, can I see your work? And you're like, okay. So I go to my Instagram and I start showing this picture and it goes around the room and it goes into the hands of Sarah, the sommelier. Sarah looks at it. She says, okay. She pulls me into the wine room. She says, Beau, we need to have a conversation. It can't be here right now. This is my card. Call me. We're going to have coffee next week. I call her. We have the meeting. It's a coffee meeting. She says, Beau, look, I can't talk about this, but I'm actually opening up a restaurant and I'm going to be needing a painter to create a collection of pieces to showcase on the wall. And you're someone that I like to consider for this. I really like the fact that you could tell a story through your art. That really resonated. Your story really resonated. You're someone that I could foresee having a future with and a collaboration to make this restaurant what I envision it to be. And I want you to have full creative freedom because I can tell that when you do that, it really shows. And I was like, what? I just went from being crippled and unemployed and in debt to having a job as a busser at this really beautiful resort, but now also getting paid to make art for a restaurant that's about to open in Carmel. What? Okay, sure. And you're going to pay me X amount of dollars. What? It's a $15,000 contract and you're going to put a down payment of $7,500 before I even do anything. What? And I'm going to be using my skills as a graphic designer to do the business cards and the menus and the online presence and the brand identity and help with social media. I've never done these things, but I mean, I can do them now because I learned those skills. And so she paid me to do that while I was working in the restaurant, while I was bussing tables, then, lunch serving, then dinner serving. And now I'm creating these series of paintings for this, restaurant. But it gets better. At one point, I was getting so burnt out at the restaurant because, like I said before, sometimes you slave for your boss. You give it everything and you can't say no. You say yes, 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 yes in the beginning, and sometimes at your own expense. So I'm working breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm doing it like 3-4 days out of the week, but I'm working 5 days total, plus trying to do my art on the side. I'm getting burnt the hell out. I'm exhausted. I'm on my 6th day in a row from like the way the weeks roll over in my schedule. And I'm having dinner with my parents. I'm in my car and we're about to meet and have dinner. And I'm just feeling broken, just like exhausted. And I get a phone call from Sarah and she says, hey, Beau, what you doing? I was like, oh, just got off work and now I'm about to have dinner with my parents. She's like, okay, well, do you have a second? I was like, sure. I'd like to give you an opportunity. Would you be interested in going to Mexico with me to get inspired and get to understand the Oaxacan culture and their mezcal culture, which is an agave spirit, kind of like tequila? And we're going to go with the chef that's going to be helping, create the recipes for this restaurant. And I really want you to be a part of this experience so that it can inspire you. And then with that inspiration, you can direct it into your canvases and into those pieces that you're making for the restaurant. So now not only am I working and making money for my job, I'm making money for my job and painting and getting money. And now I'm traveling and you're going to pay for it. And you're inviting me on this trip and you're giving me a chance. Sarah, this woman, was the first person to see me as an artist, to pay me for my services, to believe in me, and not only believe in me verbally, but also financially. And I was like, well, if that's the case, why can't I do more of that? Why can't I have more sales? Why can't I put my work out there? Why can't I have more projects like that? Why can't I make art that I love making and also help others, like a business, like a restaurant, embellish its walls? How can I, give my services like graphic design to make really cool business cards so that when they spread the word, my personal touch, my creativity made that connection happen. Being able to be of service and contribute the best way that I can, which is through art, through design, through my filter, through my perspective, through my experiences traveling, through my upbringing. Integrating all these qualities in your life in such a way that you mix it up in your own personal cocktail, you create your own little recipe, and then you showcase it and you try it out. And sometimes it goes nowhere and sometimes it goes somewhere. Going from making $0 from art to $10,000 in 1 year. Sweet. Then $25,000 in 1 year. Awesome. Then $45,000 in 1 year. What? These are things for other people. I don't deserve those things. That's not for me, right? But wait a second, you do deserve it. You do show up. You do the work. You paint when everyone else is sleeping. You do, work on your business and marketing and Instagram and social media while other people are at the bar. You do travel and invest your money into experiences rather into materialistic things. You spend a pretty penny to buy those canvases, and you spend a pretty penny to buy those paints, and you're not afraid to take risks on yourself to make the things that make you happy. You deserve this. And so the more that you do it, the more you want, and the more you start to realize that you actually have power, you have creative control. You can make decisions that do alter your life. And it's not your boss making those choices. It's not your environment making those choices. It's not your whoever, telling you that this is who you are and this is what this is what you deserve. You get to make that yourself. You get to design your own lifestyle, your own daily routines. These daily routines that over time create really cool things that you can then showcase and share with others, which then can create new conversations, new connections, new businesses, new products, new services, new relationships that are elevated, that are interesting, that are fascinating, that you love getting to be a part of each and every day. So instead of the gossip, instead of, the blaming, instead of the reason why I don't have this is because of that, or the reasons why, why does it have to be me? Like the problem isn't about what's happening outside in the world. It's about what's happening inside in your inner world. And once you get to understand that, and then, maintain a sense of discipline, of dedication, of trust in yourself first and foremost, then it's on your shoulders. It's up to you to decide how to spend your life and your time. And the more that you do it, the more you realize, like, yeah, this is for me. So welcome to my Instagram Live, guys. There was my monologue. I didn't see any questions, at least. I didn't really ask. Typically, what I do in these videos is I say, hey, I'm an emerging artist, and you can ask me questions, and then I answer. And today, I decided to do something a little bit different and just express some of the things that have been happening in my life in the last few years, really putting into words a sense of being, like, this is me, this is what I do, this is who I am, this is what I've done to get to this place in my life. Now, if you're just arriving now into the Instagram Live video, you can watch this for 24 hours. I feel like this is one of those videos that it's worth keeping, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to save it, and then I'll upload it to YouTube as a whole video. So if you haven't already, you can find me on YouTube. I have a new channel. It's not new. It's just one that I abandoned, and now I'm kind of picking up again. But it's youtube.com/BeauBeFrank. Same thing as Instagram. I talk about subjects that all revolve around what it's like to be an emerging artist. It has never been more possible to be independent from any system of government or economy. Doesn't matter how bad it gets out there. If you have a business that you can take care of yourself, you don't have to fear losing your job. You don't have to fear losing your career because you have your own. You know your worth. You know what you can do. You know what you can offer to others. And then once you have that, once you develop that skill, that's immune to any economic disaster. With that kind of quality, you can go through any problem, any situation. You can figure a way out. You can open a door if you have to. But until you have that sense of confidence, that sense of ownership of your life, that sense of dedication to yourself first and foremost, you're going to feel like someone else is pushing and pulling you, that they're the ones making the choices for you. And sometimes that can be very painful. But if you listen to your heart, if you listen to your soul, if you listen to those qualities, those thoughts, those questions in your head that say, maybe I should pay closer attention to this and less attention to that. The more you say yes to yourself, the more you feel good about yourself, the more you develop self-love and self-actualization because you get to spend time with the things that make you happy. Happiness isn't the goal. Happiness goes up and down. Life is going to be hard. You're going to get that phone call that you just don't want to get. You're going to get let down. You're going to get that broken heart. You're going to get those things that test you and push you to your limits. But if you belong to yourself rather than to your environment, no matter where you go, you take that with you. And that's really powerful. That's really fucking cool. Anyway, so now I will actually say, hey, any questions? That was a pretty long Instagram Live. Typically, like I said before, people ask questions and then I respond. So now if you would like to ask a question or follow up, I will actually read it. All the things that have been written up to this point, I haven't read. So if you have a question and you wrote it before and you'd like to ask it again, now is the time to do it. I'm going to do probably maybe 5 minutes of this, and then I'm going to get back to work because I have so many things I need to do. I have to package, I think, 10 paintings. I need to sand down and add another layer of gesso. I have to send off a couple emails that I promised to do and set up a couple meetings for next week. So, do you write poetry often? Writing is a new thing for me. I didn't start speaking to the world until I'd say 2015, really, but I didn't start writing to the world until 2017. I started using Instagram as a blog where I just kind of like voice my thoughts, and people were oddly really nice and really supportive. Like YouTube, you get the trolls. Reddit, you get the trolls. Instagram, you get the kindest, sweetest, most generous, like hearts, 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 love, positivity, positivity. I was like, okay. So like I'd post something like poetic and just cringe, just like, oh God, oh, I feel so weird. This is not me. This is not what I do. I'm an artist. I'm a painter, not a poet. But it's like, I love words. I love how they can have this secret kind of language that when you put them in such a way, it resonates in a different way than just regular writing or creative writing or short story form or journalism or whatever. Poetry is such a specific kind of writing style. And so I kind of like the short form, like haiku. That was amazing. So inspirational. Thank you. Thank you for listening. How are you? I'm good. I'm good. Today I got some bad news in a way, which is also good news. I sprained my sacroiliac, which is this place right here in your hip. And so what that means is that I'm kind of a grandpa. I'm at that point in my age where I'm like, oh, my hip. Basically, they said, if you allow yourself to rest, it will be about 3 months for recovery. And I was like, what do you mean by rest? Like no exercise, no gym, no sports, just rest. Like you can walk, but don't run. And I'm like, the gym is my, therapist. It's my psychiatrist. Like I need my gym. It's become such a big part of my routine, a foundational part of my daily life. And to have that removed is like, oh, you're taking off like my arm. I need that. But luckily I have my other arm. Like I can still do other things. So now this hour and a half, 2 hours I usually dedicate to the gym, I can now spend on other things. I can spend it on writing. I can write poetry if I want. I can read. I can listen to podcasts. I can have a coffee. I don't have to be at the gym. It's not a necessity. And for 3 months now, no exercise. Oh well. I write spoken word. I think it's good to find your medium and to try it out. And the more that you do it, the more you discover yourself within it. What do you love most about your art? It's been really weird shifting my talk in my head to positivity because it used to be very negative. It used to be very critical. And so now when I look at art, you still have to have that critical eye, but it has to remain optimistic where it's like, okay, maybe something's off, but I can fix it. So with a painter, you have to know what to fix to be able to create the piece that you want. So without wanting to, it has to be somewhat realistic, which sometimes can come across as rude or disrespectful or, painful. So I guess what I love about my art is the fact that I can tell stories through art, that I can convey emotion or feelings or make people feel a certain way because of a certain kind of color palette or style. So I say I love that. When did you start creating art? When I was 5 years old, probably. If you could be any tree, which one? I think I'd like to be a redwood tree. That would be like the ideal. But if I'm honest, I'm probably more like a willow, maybe, or a cypress tree. What is the longest time you spent on one painting? Probably 70 hours. That's like a decent chunk amount of my life. When did you get serious about your art? I got serious when I realized that my life was at risk and that I only had a finite amount of time and I wanted to spend it on art. Who is your current favorite painter and why? Ooh, that's such a hard question. There's so many. Follow this page called honest.work. It's on Instagram. I share a lot of artists I like. Thank you so much for watching this Instagram live video. I really appreciate you taking the time to be involved in this, listen, let me, speak my voice. And I know everyone's time is really precious. So the fact that you were willing to spend it with me means a lot. So I'll catch you all later. And thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Hugs and kisses. We've realized that this was quite a heavy dosage of trajectory. It's my inside look on what it's like to be an artist. And if you found this helpful, then please subscribe. More videos to come soon. Talk to you later.